Today, we're about to perform one of the strangest thought experiments in human history. Just imagine this for a moment. What if all 8 billion people on Earth jumped at exactly the same time, in the very same second? It might sound ridiculous, but this question isn't as pointless as it seems. Now, if everyone's ready, let's begin. 3, 2, 1. And just like that, nearly 8 billion people jump at exactly the same moment. For a brief instant, the Earth's surface experiences the combined force of billions of people pushing against it simultaneously. So, would the Earth actually feel it? Your first instinct is probably to say, absolutely. After all, 8 billion people jumping at the same time certainly doesn't sound insignificant. But the truth is very different. Could a force that enormous actually move the Earth? To answer that question, we first need to know one thing: the combined mass of every human being on Earth. If we could somehow place every person on the planet on a giant scale, the result would be astonishing. About 500 million tons. That certainly sounds like an enormous number, doesn't it? But is it enormous for the Earth? No. As massive as 500 million tons may sound, the Earth's mass is roughly 12 trillion times greater. That's why the combined weight of every human on the planet is, in comparison, almost insignificant. You can think of it like expecting a single drop of water to raise the level of the entire ocean. That's why even if all 8 billion people jumped at exactly the same time, the Earth wouldn't experience any measurable effect. But that doesn't mean absolutely nothing would happen. One question immediately comes to mind. What about an earthquake? After all, billions of people landing on the ground at the same moment sounds like it should create a massive shockwave. But once again, the reality is very different. People are spread across the entire planet, so the force isn't concentrated in one location. On top of that, the vibrations lose their energy very quickly as they travel through the ground. Even if all 8 billion people jump simultaneously, the energy simply wouldn't be enough to trigger a major earthquake. But vibrations wouldn't be the only thing created. Imagine 8 billion people jumping and landing at exactly the same moment. The sound alone could produce a brief but extraordinary roar across many cities, something like an enormous round of applause or a powerful clap of thunder. Even then, that sound would only travel through the atmosphere. It wouldn't be nearly powerful enough to alter the Earth's structure or affect the planet itself. But there's one important reason why all of this remains relatively harmless. People are scattered all over the Earth. What if all 8 billion people were gathered in one single location instead? Now the situation would be completely different. Instead of being spread across the planet, the entire force would be concentrated in one area. The moment everyone landed, powerful vibrations could be felt in that region. Depending on the ground beneath them, even minor structural damage might occur. Even so, the effects would remain confined to that one location. The rest of the world would barely notice anything at all. But there's one more question worth asking. Could all 8 billion people jumping at the same time actually change the Earth's orbit around the Sun? At first, it might seem possible. After all, 8 billion people moving at the exact same moment sounds like an enormous amount of force. But there's one crucial detail that's easy to overlook. From the very beginning, every one of us is already part of the Earth. When you jump, you don't leave the planet. You simply rise a few centimeters, or at most a few meters, above the surface for a brief moment. That means the Earth's total mass never changes, and no external force is added to the system. So, an event like this wouldn't alter the Earth's orbit around the Sun. The Earth's rotation, however, is a slightly different story. In theory, billions of people jumping at the same time could cause incredibly tiny change in the Earth's rotational speed. That's because for a brief instant, the distribution of mass changes ever so slightly as everyone leaves the ground. But the effect would be so unbelievably small that it wouldn't just be impossible to feel, it would be nearly impossible to detect, even with the most precise scientific instruments available today. So for all practical purposes, the Earth's rotation would remain exactly the same. In the end, even if all 8 billion people on Earth jumped at exactly the same time, our planet wouldn't be knocked out of place. It wouldn't trigger a massive earthquake, it wouldn't change its orbit, and its rotation wouldn't be affected in any noticeable way. Perhaps this little thought experiment teaches us something. Numbers that seem unimaginably large in our everyday lives can become surprisingly small when compared to something as enormous as an entire planet. On the scale of the universe, even 8 billion people are nothing more than a tiny detail. If there's another question you'd like us to explore, let us know in the comments. It might even become the topic of a future video. If you'd like to keep exploring with us, consider subscribing to the channel and giving this video a like. See you in the next one.